I am absolutely thrilled today because I am with one of my most favorite companies out of England I've ever had, Newton Commercial, the interior company that makes all of the classic Mini Cooper bits for our classic Minis. Richard, tell me your story.
Well, it started, I left school in 1962, so we're going back, 50 years or so now, and I started an apprenticeship at Morris Motors in Oxford, at Cowley. Now that factory was enormous. They produced the Morris Oxfords, the Wolseleys, Minis, Morris Minors. There were 27,000 people working there, so you can imagine the sheer size of it.
It's massive.
They produced about 50 cars an hour. Somehow.
Wow.
In between the strikes, okay? Now, the new Mini factory, which is on the same site, is producing 50 cars an hour with 3,000 people.
Wow.
So that is the difference between the old days and the new days.
Yeah.
I spent 4 years at Cowley. I was then fortunate enough to actually get a year at the BMC competitions department at Abingdon under Peter Browning. So I know all the boys that were, there. But I had a great insight into competition, how to do things properly, how to put a nut and bolt together properly.
Yeah.
Because if you imagine you're going in a Mini Cooper S down the Monte Carlo mountain at 100 miles an hour in ice, you've got to rely on it.
Yeah.
So the mechanics had a great, thing to do. So I spent that. After that, I went to Downton Engineering, which was the tuning company for the BMC cars in that. The proprietors were a bit strange. Izzy Gonis used to come down, once a month usually. He and Daniel Richmond used to go fishing. Then they'd go and have champagne and salmon at the pub, afterwards. And then all night long they'd work in the factory, in the workshop.
Yeah.
Daniel's wife, Bunty, was a fire stick.
Yeah.
Nobody could do anything without her being paid,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So it was an experience, it really was.
Wow.
So after that, I went to Germany to a company called DL Wooding, which were the main importers for northern Germany of BMC cars.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of importing accessories from England, the John Rhodes accessories, the Astrali, the Motor Liter, all that, so Mini Light wheels, Duckham's oil, I was in charge of that. But also, we raced Cooper S's and in the German Championship, and we won it 2 years in a row. But then obviously BMC competitions and special tuning came to a halt in the early 70s because Lord Stokes shut everything basically. So that was a new era then. So in 1972 we raced with help from Ford. Ford Escort BDAs, which were the 4-cylinder 16-valve, 250 horsepower from a Ford Escort. Makes you shiver.
It does, up my spine.
So so anyway, unfortunately, in 1973 we had the world oil crisis. So all the tuning companies, apart from BMW Alpina, went bust. Basically. So we had no choice but to come back to England. And we came back and I got a job with Services, which was a national repairing radiator company for cars, trucks, anything, So I learned a lot there, and we took over a customer in about 1977 from one of our other branches, and it was big business. It was about £10,000 a quarter, which in those days was a lot of money. And he said to me one day, a seat out of a forklift truck. And he said, you've got to do these. I said, we don't do seats, we do radiators. And he said, well, if you don't do that, I'll take the business away. I thought, no, £10,000 a quarter, that's money. So I hunted the whole of Suffolk, is where we're situated. Nothing, couldn't find a trim shop or anything. So I went home one night and spoke to my wife, Vera, and I said, look, if I buy a yard of material, can you sew 4 corners for me?
Really?
Yeah, no problem, she says. She always says that, no problem. So we did that, and we cobbled this seat together. It looked dreadful. It really did look awful. Charged £7, sent it back, and I thought, thank goodness we can rest easy. Next week, the rep bought 7 more in.
Really?
And that is how Newton Commercial started, basically.
Fantastic. I love hearing that.
And we were in a 3-bedroom house, kitchen table, sewing machine that mother, that I've had. And after about 3 months, that just died completely because we were then into heavy stuff. Yeah. And we repaired any truck seat, aeroplane seat, anything basically for 2 years. And we just, all the garages in the area we dealt with. And then eventually we came across a BMC dealer in Ipswich had a load of Morris Minors there. Yeah. And he said, look, I've got problems with the seats. They split. And this is the welded type seat with a welded pattern on it. Yeah. And once it splits, you can't repair it. Yeah. You need a new cover. So, and unfortunately, fortunately for us, the covers weren't available. So I then set about trying to find who manufactured them originally, the colours, the materials. We needed to have them welded, the seat faces welded. And we started the Morris Minor, and Charles Ware, who was the biggest Morris Minor people, he gave us an order eventually for 200 seat covers.
And that's how it started?
That's how the classic side started.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Morris Minor then just went on and on and on. They wanted the door panels, they wanted the carpets, they wanted the glove boxes, so we had to do all that. In amongst all this, we were involved with MGB as well. Okay. We was a company in Birkenhead, up in the north of England, MG International, and we started dealing with him, and we did the whole MGB range in 4 years. Amazing.
Wow. Okay.
We by then had all the materials made, because the whole essence of our company is to have correct material to the right specification. Nobody else has ever done that, and that is why we are as strong now as we have ever been.
Really?
Yeah, because we've got all the materials you see on show here, which is all mini.
Yeah.
They're all made to original specification.
That's right.
And we have to have it specially made.
And you know something about that because you were there.
Oh well, totally. Yeah.
So when you remember what that was like and go, well, that's not right. It needs to look like this.
Precisely. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Yeah. And this is a family business.
Yes, it was. By 1979, really, we started. By 1986, we built a new factory. Okay. 3,000 square feet. By 1979, we built another factory, 20,000 square feet. Yeah. We've now, at this present moment, got 3 factories.
Wow.
With 63 employees.
Wow.
And we do obviously Mini, totally, Morris Minor, Triumph, every model Triumph, every model MG, and we're into Volkswagen, Golf, Peugeot 205s, Ford Escorts and Ford Capris nowadays. And that's the latest sort of scenario, which my son, Jonathan, he joined us in 14 years ago. Okay. And he's now taken over the mantle, and it is going great guns.
I would love, can you introduce me to Johnny?
I'd love to, yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Richard, what an honor. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.